Greetings, Internet! Welcome to episode number 160 of Mike and Matt's fantabulous Comic Watchers show, patent pending. I'm Matt, this is Mike. We're here this week to talk to you about comics and pop culture and politics and apparently baseball, because apparently baseball is going to happen for some reason. Mike has his pinky up and his cubby glass, and Mike, you're originally from Missouri.
No,
I was under the impression you would be a St. Louis fan.
Okay. See, that's one way to get me to quit comic watch altogether.
No,
I'm actually I only lived in the Show Me State for like year and a half, maybe 2 years.
Okay.
I'm originally from Norfolk.
Oh.
So I'm originally from the East Coast, the soggy, rainy, London-esque East Coast.
So you're a Cubbies fan, naturally.
Yeah, naturally. No, just growing up watching the Superstation, TBS Superstation.
Yeah.
WGN. So it was just everything was like Cubs and Braves. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, you know what? This is a big day, obviously, if you're a baseball fan, because the lockout.
Yeah.
Mike, you know a lot more about baseball stuff than I do, but you should probably explain this one.
Well, it was the collective bargaining agreement expired, and so it was that classic back and forth between teams and owners, and about what's the word? Like salary caps and stuff like that. But a lot of things there were some rule changes that they were kind of going back and forth on. So
what made this different from the actual strike in '95?
Oh God!
Because for one thing, this actually resolved a lot faster. And
right. Well, it was kind of like the stalemate, because that was right around the time, and I believe that is right around the time where they wanted the salary cap lifted to where, well, not this. It's kind of like they wanted the salary cap lifted a little, like the ceiling lifted, and then also they wanted the guaranteed money worked in.
Okay.
So say like Bobby Bonilla, who used to play for the Mets, one of his teams with the Mets, Marlins and stuff. Every June 16th, he gets $1 million from the Mets. And because his contract was restructured so many times that they're still paying him for like another 5-6 years. Very, very similar to what happened with Troy Aikman and the Dallas Cowboys. So
you mean, okay.
Yeah. So it's the same, but yeah, that was.
So you mean they sucked after he left?
Right.
What you're telling me?
And now, speaking of the Cowboys, did you hear old Jerry Jones is in some legal troubles?
That doesn't shock me, but no.
Yeah, apparently he was paying one of his baby mama's hush money to keep quiet that there's a kid involved. And I guess the kid was like, no.
Jerry Jones is no spring chicken.
No.
Is this a kid or a kid?
That's one of those skeevy.
It's one of those things like Arnold Schwarzenegger's love child that's half Hispanic, and he looks like a chubby Hispanic Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm just saying, like all that.
I'm not clicking on that headline. I don't want to know.
I don't either. But it is an unplanned coinky-dink that we would open the show talking about baseball and bats, because we are here today to talk about the Batman. That's right.
Well, wait a second.
We're actually a long way from da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na.
Do we do na-na-na-na-na, or do we sing something in the way?
Well, I can't do the needle drop as well as flawlessly as Matt Reeves.
Right.
But, I did finish watching that movie, and I was like, man, I cannot get the dong 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 out of my head. And also, I really want to listen to some Nirvana. And right. I mean, the either one of these things in and of their own selves is not a bad thing.
Right.
I do think, and I mean, I guess you know what? Screw it. We're already here. Let's just talk about the music and the score in the Batman, Mike.
Sure.
There's Mel, and it's a weird ass place to start, right? But Matt Reeves is really good with needle drops.
Yeah.
Like in terms of tone and atmosphere, or something in the way.
Mm-hmm.
Even if he did use it more, I think he used it at 2 different points in the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like the second time was maybe should have been a different song. I don't know. Maybe he was going for some sort of resonance or symmetry or something. I don't know. But I thought it was a wonderful song choice.
No,
like
absolutely.
A good needle drop in a movie can really enhance it.
Mm-hmm.
And in the alternative, it can be used to pad a movie with lots of like montages and crap like that, right? And this was definitely not that. Like the choice of when and where to do the needle drops for the soundtrack in this movie was very, very deliberate,
Mm-hmm.
and it to me was really reflective of just those very deliberate choices that Reeves was making throughout.
Oh, absolutely. I think that it's one of those things that matches with everything in the movie that I think worked beautifully with the cinematography and just the environment and the landscapes and such. And the thing is, this song came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Zero.
Like I was not expecting that song, right?
No one did.
And
it's one of those things
when it dropped,
right.
It just did perfectly.
Right. And if anyone says, "Oh, I knew," no, you didn't.
You didn't. Put your face on.
Yeah. You could understand, like, you could say, "Oh, come as you are." Okay, yeah, okay, Grot, we heard that.
Right. Bah.
Yeah, or you hear like heart-shaped box like on a jukebox somewhere. Okay, we get it, ha ha ha. But nowhere, would out of nowhere would you ever think that Something in the Way, the last song on that record, is going to be played in a movie, especially in a comic book movie, maybe in a drama. You know what I'm saying? But a non, comic book drama movie type. Sure. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like Garden State Part 2. That's a movie I would expect to hear that song in, right?
Right. Or like, if they reboot High Fidelity or something.
Yeah. I mean, and you and I are big music nerds, Mike, so I know we can both appreciate a good soundtrack. And it's good, sure. Yeah. And I mean, like I said, when done right, the soundtrack has an absolute enhancement to the movie. And when it's done really, really right, you get Guardians of the Galaxy, where the songs and deliberate song choices are part of the story and help tell the story.
Right. I was just about to say that it almost can take over the story, and where you don't even,
I can't say that the soundtrack for The Batman was at that level, but it was still very, very good. The score itself was really, really good. It was very powerful. I don't think it was on the level of the Christopher Nolan movies. And my biggest reason for saying that is it kept coming back to the dun, 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 over and over and over. And I'm like, okay, I get it. This is really heavy, really important stuff. But eventually they overdid it to the point where I was like, okay, guys, really, I'm having a little bit of a hard time with this now.
Well, I think, like, I don't know, maybe it's because I kind of took it as like the theme for Halloween, or like,
it has that quality to it. That real simplicity.
Right. And I think just with that, especially like in the beginning, where, the criminals, we'll call them, they were looking in the dark, and they were looking for him, and so like that fit, and especially like I think there was one miss. I think it's when Kravitz and Pattinson first got together, and like I think they tried to inject that dun dun, and I'm like, they're on a balcony, they're kind of talking, like that's okay, but overall I think the score wasn't bad.
Score was good. Don't get me wrong. I kind of wish it hadn't quite beat me over the head so much, right? However, I will say, and I do not have oh gosh,
What's up?
I don't have in front of me who composed the score. So if anybody out there wants to jump in and throw that out there, I'm all ears or eyes, I guess I should say.
Oh,
But all cast and crew. There we go. It was not composed by Lenny Kravitz. That would actually be hilarious.
That would have been awesome.
That would have been awesome and a completely different movie.
Michael Giacchino.
Okay, Michael Giacchino. Well, let's see what else he's done, because he's interesting and he clearly took some cues. Oh, he composed Up, Ratatouille, and the new Star Wars. Ooh, Rogue One.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I got it. Oh, yeah.
Hands off.
All right, this guy knows his stuff. This guy knows his shit.
Yeah.
Falcon and Winter Soldier. I mean, okay, definitely. So, okay. That says a lot about the quality of the score or of it. And just there was something else he did, and he really borrowed it well from the Nolan movies,
right,
and the music there, which was that holding that single note to really stretch out the tension of a moment, that type thing.
Yeah. Well, and the darkness of the whole movie. I mean,
it totally fit the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I really, really liked that. I mean, and honestly, on a technical level, there's not much about The Batman I didn't like. It's a gorgeous ass movie. I think that some of Matt Reeves' choices with making basically 96% of the movie be at night.
Yeah.
And then right at the end, major spoilers, when the Batman decides that he has to be a symbol for hope as well as vengeance. Then and now it's daylight. Like, that's kind of heavy-handed. But God dang, the technical side of this, the cinematography, the lighting, just the general camera work. I mean, damn.
Yeah.
That upside down shot of him walking towards the penguin.
Yes.
There's a reason that shot is everywhere right now.
If this movie doesn't pull in for cinematography, score, makeup, when it comes to wartime.
I don't know about makeup.
I
don't know, man. The makeup and didn't grab me.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. I think when we talk about makeup in this instance, we're mostly talking about Colin Farrell as the Penguin, right?
Fair, yeah. I mean,
for the most part,
to
me, it almost wasn't garish enough to be the Penguin, but that's being extremely nitpicky. Like, he looked good,
yeah, but it's also you can take in. I mean, and one of the aspects of the movie that I really, really absolutely appreciated and enjoyed was Reeves took these characters, these characters that have been around, 70 plus years, and it's like you revamped them, but you still made them cool and interesting, and it worked. And with the Penguin,
I don't 100% agree with the working part, but we'll get with one character in particular. But we'll get around to him.
And so with the makeup, he didn't automatically, he had the nose, but he didn't have the campy nose, and he wasn't trying to bring in we saw Danny DeVito's Penguin.
I was gonna say he'd have to you see a live action Penguin, and we're conditioned to think
Danny DeVito or Burgess Meredith,
Meredith, to take it way back.
Talking about the Riddler, I got a funny note about a review I read after the movie where someone compared, like, they wanted to see like a mix-up of Jim Carrey and Frank Gorshin of a Riddler, and I'm going, for this type of, I don't think so, because I don't. It just we'll get to the Riddler, but
yeah, I have some feelings about the Riddler.
And if they're not amazing, then we might as well just go ahead and cut the show now.
No, we should definitely talk. We should talk through my feelings.
Okay, It's my feelings. But no, back on the Penguin. But I think that he had the little limp, and he was just so I don't know.
I mean, you see him and you think, okay, Penguin.
Sure.
But there's of course the jokes and the joke memes going around that's like, why did they go with Colin Farrell when they could have just gotten Richard Kind? And that's pretty funny.
I mean, there's truth to that meme, though.
There's definite truth to that.
Yeah, they could have a bunch of money on makeup.
True that. But listen, Colin Farrell, he is super underappreciated, man. He is a fantastic actor. He's been doing these sort of chameleon roles for a long ass while now.
Yeah.
And just really, like, you remember how it was when he first started getting big in the early 2000s, and he was the new pretty boy. Oh, he's the next Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
And then his career kind of imploded for a while because he got typecast into those types of roles. And then he just got really quiet for a while and started doing all of this undergroundy stuff. I mean, in Bruges, I think. Did you see In Bruges?
Who? Gesundheit.
I think I may be mispronouncing it. In Bruges, IN, and then separately BRUGES. Okay, it's cool. It's a crime movie that you should absolutely see. And it was a movie I watched and I was like, oh wow, this dude is really actually very good. He's more than just a pretty face. Unfortunately, he was in the Total Recall remake, which is not good for him. But he's also in stuff like Winter's Tale and The Lobster and Killing of the Sacred Deer, and I mean all of this stuff that's like, okay, man can act, really can. Yeah. So like people I think really typecast Colin Farrell a long time ago, and he broke out of it, and I don't think anybody realized it. And because movies like The Lobster are not mainstream movies at all.
Well, and I think
I'm telling you, he's out there, and at some point, he's going to win an Oscar, and he's going to completely deserve it.
No, and he deserves it now. And I think if any actor, any person in the spotlight, be it an athlete or an actor, what have you, anytime they can kind of take their own career in their own hands,
REM,
don't mess with REM, sir.
You said in the spotlight, I couldn't resist.
Oh, don't mess with REM. Anyway, messing me up, man.
Sorry. Low-hanging fruit.
Well, now I want to listen to REM. Or at least dance around like Michael Stipe for the podcast people. I mean,
neither one of us have the build to be Michael Stipe.
Doesn't matter if we get viewers on the show. We lost a viewer. Someone doesn't like REM. Anyway.
Yeah. They were like, violent films for life. Woo!
Listen to them at lunch. Anyway.
Nice.
But no, I think anytime someone in the spotlight can kind of take control of their own career and not really worry about, this tabloid, that tabloid, this news station, whatever, and kind of almost reinvent themselves. Mm-hmm. That's huge.
Like Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
Let's just go there. Because
that's
there was more hate for this casting than there was the initial Heath Ledger announcement as the Joker.
Right. And most of
everybody, the sparkly vampire guy. Have you seen literally anything he's done since the Twilight movies? Because he's done a lot.
My man grew up
from that dang franchise, and good on him.
Yeah,
right. Because as it turns out, he's a much to nobody's surprise. He's a much better actor than the Twilight movies would have you believe.
Yeah, well,
I mean, look, my man was in Tenet, and he was in The Lighthouse.
It's good.
And I mean, Good Time. God, that's a dark ass movie. Just all this crazy. Oh, Cosmopolis. That was the other one.
Okay.
Yeah, David Cronenberg. It's not his best, but it's still really good, and it shows a lot of range for Pattinson, especially in 2012, coming right out of Twilight. But
well, Twilight, and not I'm not, and I don't mean this as a clown, but Twilight was such a niche kind of audience. You know what I'm saying? And
I mean, 9-year-old girls and my wife. Yeah.
Okay. One, I didn't say that. I just said niche audience. I said that in a nice way. Yeah, you're gonna be in so much trouble after the show gets over.
She's flipping me off right now.
But no, and I honestly mean that in a very positive, very nice way. But
it had a very, very specific target audience,
right? But
and then somehow blew up way beyond that audience.
Mm-hmm. Well,
which was weird.
Well, I'm not gonna lie.
Those movies are not good.
Well, I'm not worried about the movies, but those soundtracks to like all 3 movies, yeah, they're in the next room. It's some pretty rad shit on those.
All right, is it though? I'm gonna take your word for it.
Yeah, buddy, some good alternative indie stuff on those.
Yeah. Anyway.
I mean, my CDs glow when I play them, but it's still pretty good stuff.
Are you sure that's not Sparkles?
It is Sparkle. Hey, you can Sparkle. Listen to Death Cab for Cutie. It's cool. No worries.
But I mean, I gotta give whoever was in charge of casting for this movie a lot of props for taking that calculated risk of putting Robert Pattinson in this role. I didn't like his stupid emo hair. We'll just put that out there. Well, look, I didn't like it. That's just a choice of me.
Sure, and let me add this nugget. Now, because of his age at the time, it's not going to tell me who ran casting for the movie. Anyway, but if you take it's a year 2 story, so he's not going to, and it's set in current day, so he's what we'll say 20,
28, 29, 30, right in there.
You want to go late 20s? Okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking. Well, okay, year 2. Yeah, okay, 25-ish, 26, right about there, mid.
And yeah, I mean, so I and another thing that I loved about this movie was the casting. It was just perfect for the timeline. It was perfect for the environment, and it just really reflected very well on the story, and the actors and actresses. The cast played their parts exceptionally well. So casting aspect aside and overcoming perceptions aside, I did have an issue with the fact that Pattinson's Bruce Wayne, to me, just felt kind of empty. He's just kind of there staring a lot. Could that be like a mental aspect?
I don't know. That's the problem. But the problem I had, and this was probably my biggest struggle with the whole movie, right, is if I don't care about Bruce Wayne, it's harder for me to care about his struggles becoming Batman. Like there's stuff in there, like when he jacks up that landing and he hits the sign and he falls and hurts himself. I loved that. Because that's a Batman that's still learning how to be Batman. He's really vulnerable. But we don't really see that reflected so much on the Bruce Wayne side of it. And one of the things that Nolan and Christian Bale really, really got right was getting inside Bruce Wayne's head and truly conveying, like, this is a guy with serious freaking emotional trauma and baggage. And it's reflected in the way that he is Batman, even when he's growling at people. And
so terrible.
I just didn't get that same sense. And I know it's not fair to compare the 2 different actors' performances. And I want to be careful to note that I'm not trying to do that. But like, there was just something about Pattinson that made it hard for me to connect to him.
What about
it was as though he was given the direction, you're Batman 24/7. And that strips the humanity out of Batman to me.
Well, I get where you're going, and there was time.
Am I talking out my ass?
What's that?
Does that make sense? Am I talking out my ass?
It makes perfect sense because there was times in the movie where much like you almost have to care about both. You have to care about Bruce Wayne and you have to care about Batman, because they are the same character in a sense, right? And they both have their own internal struggles. You know, I think they're two different types of struggles, realistically. But like, I think in like the first scene when he's in the Batcave, and you know, him and Alfred, like that part was kind of okay. As much as I love Andy Serkis, I was like, yeah, part's kind of flat. But in the hospital, when Andy Serkis is in the hospital and he finds out in Bruce, or you know, however you want to put it, finds out, you know, the truth about his dad and everything, you know, just that look at his face, I really, for me, that was the part that I was like, okay, I like how he's playing this part of Bruce Wayne, you know, and
I definitely liked that from a plot aspect, where he's like, oh wow, my parents weren't perfect people.
Right. And I think that's helping him just mentally with that. And I think right there, that's where it clicked for me that Pattinson really, I think he played a solid Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, I feel like I need to see the movie a second time. And I will. It was a good movie.
Right.
I didn't dislike the movie. I do think it was too long, but that's just me. They could have cut stuff, but I don't know. I still, you know, you and I are the same age, so you know, Keaton, he's our first Batman, right? He set the standard.
He's number one.
You've got Val Kilmer, you've got George Clooney for whatever reason, and Kilmer has his fans. I don't think Clooney has any fans, but then you get to Christian Bale, and it's like, oh wow, this is working for me on the same level as a 20 and early 30-something-year-old that Keaton as Batman did when I was a kid. It's like feels fundamentally Batman to me in a way that these other actors did not. Like, this is when I was a kid and I had Batman, that was cool, but now I'm an adult and this is the Batman I want. Does that make sense?
Sure.
And it was different in tone, the Nolan movies, obviously, from the Tim Burton ones. And I mean, for God's sake, it was the best theatrical reclamation you've ever seen, considering there was only 8 years between Batman and Robin and Batman Begins.
Right.
So that to me is crucial in how I relate to Batman on film. So being utterly objective about it in my perspectives and opinions, I think that's part of why I'm having a harder time, like, gripping, if you will, the Pattinson, because he's not speaking to me in that same evolutionary sense that those other two actors were. Now, I say that I'm an old ass 41-year-old, and I mean, so it goes, right? We're not the market anymore. We're not the coveted 18 to 35 demo.
No, we're not.
There is a lot of huge fans of this movie 20 years younger than us.
Sure. And that's
at the site. He's, I think, 22, he said. Man, he loved it. My son, he's 21. He absolutely loved it. This movie's pulling in money. It's clearly clicking.
As it should.
I accept that I'm a little bit of an outlier in some of my more opinions of it. And that's okay. There's certainly things that, did we have to go grim and dark again? I hesitate to say grim dark because I don't feel like it quite crossed into the line of, I don't know, Batfleck branding people. But we just skipped right over him, didn't we?
Don't worry.
I have serious feelings about that one. But it's a dark movie.
And as it should, because I mean, and once again, I think you take what we're dealing with. We're dealing with the year 2 Batman. We're dealing with him obviously being young, and they're playing into that. And so I think once again that aspect of a younger crowd, right? And so it's ushering in a new generation, you know. And I think
I can get behind that.
Yeah, and I think especially with the mental aspect again of Bruce Wayne, and not only Bruce Wayne trying to figure out Bruce Wayne, we have Batman trying to figure out Batman, you know? And I don't think that message, that point comes across if he's running around, and it doesn't even have to be in the daytime, but if it's bright and cheerful, you know, even like with like the, you know, like with Batman Returns and Batman and other stuff where you got maybe like half and half of Bruce and Batman, where Bruce was, whining and dining the women, and he's hosting parties, and he's doing this and yada yada yada. I don't think we get the same Bruce Wayne in this movie if we don't.
Like that was Reeves' take, was kind of the reclusive fallen prince of the city,
right?
And we definitely see that play out throughout the movie. It's just really different, and look, I love the fact that Reeves said from the outset of the making of this movie,
right,
one thing we've really never seen, one aspect we've never truly focused on about Batman in film, is the fact that he's the world's greatest detective, and I want to mind that, and I got to respect the hell out of him for doing that, because that brings Batman back down to the ground, right? Particularly, and I mean, look, the Batfleck era, whatever, it is definitely removed from world's greatest detective, right? Like, it is pure superhero adrenaline.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, what, if that's what you want, cool. If you enjoy those movies, you want to see, and hey, you know what? All things being equal, I don't mind seeing that out of a Batman. Okay, watch Batman beat up some dudes.
Yeah. But see, for me, Batfleck reminds me of like dudes that go to the gym and grunt when they're lifting weights, and they listen to Hatebreed, and it's like, I've seen Hatebreed numerous times. They're a fine band, but Batfleck is definitely for the gym bros. That's it.
I get that out, because that's just like the best visual ever. You're not wrong either.
Think about it. I mean, as much as I
gotta say, I wasn't opposed to, once we got past the he's freaking branding people aspects of it, I wasn't opposed, which is, let's face it, is all Snyder, not Affleck.
Not the S word.
Right. But I mean, once you get beyond that stuff, like just his performance as Batman, he's fine. Actually, as an older, a little over the hill Batman, I actually didn't dislike him in that role at all.
I don't know.
From that perspective.
Yeah, but
there's a lot of other things, bro. That's a whole nother episode we don't have time to unpack the Snyder Cut.
Next episode, can we talk about like Batman being the role of Ben Affleck in Dazed and Confused and running around with the paddle?
Absolutely.
As Batman beating on freshmen. I'm vengeance. Here's a paddle. Oh.
And Nightwing, played by Matthew McConaughey. All right.
I'm in Bloodhaven. Yeah. You guys in the Batcave? No. If you did.
But sorry, dog down there. I just kicked him in the head on accident. But unpacking all the Battinson stuff. I mean, when he was out there like doing Batman stuff, looked good.
Oh, he's badass. Yeah,
he's a badass.
And I love
the way that Reeves uses the shadows, and the camera to really make it clear, like, people are shitting their pants with fear when they see the bat signal.
Did you?
That's effective.
Yeah, right? Like, did you get and I don't mean to bring up another Halloween reference, but I really thought that when Pattinson was in as Batman, he really had a Michael Myers type of walk, to where he whooped ass, and then people were running, but he's just steadily walking at a pace, catching up to people. And I thought that was brilliant.
That was very much a Michael Myers move. Good call on that one,
right? Because it's like, and I'm sitting here in a theater, and I instantly caught that, and I'm just like, and maybe because I'm just a Halloween stan, if you will.
No, you are, but that's okay.
Thank you. But I was just like, wow.
Even part 6.
What's that?
Even part 6.
Is that the Rob Zombie stuff?
No, it's the one that was before the Rob Zombie stuff. After H2O, I think.
H2O was okay.
It's whatever craptastic one came after H2O. I forget the exact title of it.
Oh, that was Resurrection with
that's the one that everyone was like, "Woo!"
Woo.
Yeah.
You got that.
Well, I'll tell you what. On October 31st time this year, we will devote a whole episode to talking about Halloween.
Ooh, giggity.
Yeah, giggity. That's right, baby. But the Batman is absolutely in his zone in this movie. Like, he looks like he fits in this dark
very
world.
Comfortable,
very comfortably. Like, yeah. So I'm very interested to see, 2 to 3 years from now when the sequel comes out, how they adapt, because now we're coming into the sunlight. And Batman knows he's got to be more than just vengeance.
Look at my name.
Hell yeah. That's great. He's got to be more than that. He needs to be a symbol of some sort. Like, what is that going to look like? That's really intriguing to me, especially the way that they teed up the villain for the next movie. And whomever that may or may not be. But, man, I just gotta say, and I'm gonna get off my soapbox on this because I want to talk about Zoe Kravitz and how much I just loved her as Catwoman. But, well, pre-Catwoman, I guess.
Okay.
Did we need another gritty, dark Batman movie?
Yes, because I think initially to get Batman off the ground, it has to be dark and gritty.
Okay.
Has to be. And now what makes a good Batman franchise is what you do with it in movies 2, 3, whatever, how many ever you want to put on there. And it's all about character development,
Okay.
It, like, for me, like, I think we talked about this before. Like, I don't want them to just, the second movie, oh, here's Joker, and they already have beef, and he's a conference crime, he's been doing that kills what you just did in the first movie.
Well, and to be honest, setting up the Joker for the sequel with a tease at the end, we've seen that.
What we have, but
I'm not 100% sold that our tease this time is actually supposed to be the Joker, but they clearly want us to think it's the Joker.
Right. And the thing is, if you look at like the tease and you look at the cut scene and you look how this movie is built, this could easily be an MCU movie. This is the first DC movie, I believe, modern-wise, that this has an MCU formula. This could be the DCU Iron Man. Think about it. DC's main problem is they don't lock these actors and actresses up for multiple movies. So then they rush Paul Dano out and do what I think is immaculate job at the Riddler, and then all of a sudden, all of a sudden, we're 4 movies into this, this franchise, and the only one left is Pattinson. Or you bring in another Joker, or, you cameo a Joker, but it's not Paul Dano. And it's like, well, what are we doing? But this really has like an Iron Man and a Thor feel to it.
You know what? I can respect that. I hadn't considered that, but that's actually a pretty interesting idea.
And I don't know, and I haven't read, I don't know about contracts. I don't know if they're signed on for 2 or 3 movies. Obviously, Pattinson at least is going to do 2 or 3.
Yeah.
But like with Kravitz and Dano and Farrell, I don't know. But the thing is, DC really has to start locking these characters up. Otherwise, it's going to be.
Well, they certainly look like they're going to bring Paul Dano back for the sequel.
Hopefully.
Or Dano, however you pronounce. I think it's Dano though. You're right.
Go with Dano.
Yeah, book him Dano. So, and I think you're right. Because I read an interview with Matt Reeves at the back of the DC books that came out, and these little interviews that they put at the back of the Warner Brothers produced DC comics are always very just self-serving,
sure, right.
Mildly. It's free advertising, whatever. But one of the things he caught me that I read this after I saw the Batman, and one of the things that caught my attention that kind of made me rethink some of my views is that just like Batman is kind of still learning and growing because he's in his year 2 phase, his rogues gallery are also kind of in embryonic stages, right?
Yes.
So we see Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, but she's not quite Catwoman yet. We see the Penguin, and he's Oz or Ozzy, whatever they called him. And he's Penguin-ish, but he's not there. He's not the guy yet. He's number 2.
Right.
And I mean, I think it's a little harder to bend it this way, but I mean, you could probably make a case for the Riddler starting off as a knockoff from Seven, or with a little QAnon twist thing happening there.
Yeah, I got you. You picked up on that too, right?
And perhaps over the course of a movie or two, morphing into something a little bit more resembling the Riddler that we know and love.
Sure.
And like I said, it looks like, for all intents and purposes, they're going to bring Paul Dano back for the sequel. I would be very curious to see what that looks like.
Yeah. And that's
my biggest gripe with him is not necessarily Paul Dano himself, but the choice that they made to turn him and his plot and the way that the mystery unfolded basically into Seven, but with Batman.
It is Paul Reeves.
Matt Reeves.
Huh?
It's what?
Who's that?
You said it is. I thought I heard something different.
Oh, I did.
You said Paul Reeves. I think you meant Matt Reeves.
Matt Reeves. Thank you.
But David Fincher directed Seven.
Did Finch do Seven?
Yeah, that's what got him on the map.
Gotcha. Okay, I messed that up. My bad. I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to fact check you on that one. I don't know. No, I'm sure you are. Anyway, but I think with Dano's Riddler, I think that, like you said, they're still infants. They're still learning.
Yeah.
And especially with the Riddler, I mean, he's psycho.
Yeah.
I mean, his mind is wired so differently that why not turn him into a Q type of entity, especially nowadays? Why not mix it up? And that was a fun part where they kind of weaved in some modern politicalness, modern political issues that you can kind of see. Oh, I see.
I mean, you can, and I really, this is actually one thing I wish they had done more with, and I can't say that, about a lot of the movie. Like, gosh, I wish there'd just been more of this, because there's like kind of the perfect amount of so many things, but they sort of hit on this idea that there's an online QAnon-esque following for the Riddler, and it manifests itself with the snipers at the end, right? But we didn't quite see. I don't know. I kind of would have liked to have explored more of what that looked like what the analogy of the Riddler followers plus, or as they relate to QAnon, would actually look like.
Well, now what we could possibly see is, now that he is in jail, who's to say his followers, his legion, if you will, doesn't try to surface in his name, in his honor, if you will, much like, the end with, all the snipers and all that stuff, right? When they went January 6th. That's another show.
That's
But yeah, and I think I don't know if you need it, but like you said, it would be nice because, like you said,
what is interesting because the analogy was clearly there, and I just kind of would have liked to have seen more of it.
Sure, yeah, no, I totally dig it. Yeah, because it was an interesting part, and even I was like, are we gonna see something? Because like especially when they busted into his apartment and they found under the carpet and they had the map of Gotham and stuff like that. Yeah. The movie was there. You go. The movie was amazing. But yeah, I was like, oh, maybe we're I was hoping like his minions were gonna like rush the apartment or something like that. I'm like, oh, we're gonna have like a flood of these little tiny Riddler people. But it never really manifested.
With little green bowler hats.
Yeah.
Yes. And domino masks. Yes.
Right.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that has to be it. And again, like the idea to take the Riddler in this direction is not, it's a choice. You don't do that without knowing you're gonna piss some people off. You're gonna rub some people the wrong way because you're not giving them what they're expecting. And I have to say that for this world, for this movie, this reality, this Gotham, it's not out of place. No. If you had tried to drop this version of the Riddler in literally any of the other Batman movies, including the Nolan ones, it just wouldn't have hit the same.
No, horrible choice. Yeah, but then it goes back to what I was saying with Reeves earlier, like. These characters are so old. We've heard all these stories before.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with cooking the same dish, but putting a little extra pepper in the soup. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, I can get behind that.
But because if you over-season that dish, you know what I'm saying? You can't overdo it, and it has to work. And his bold takes on like, Kravitz and Penguin and all those cats, no pun intended.
Nope, you already said it.
Screwed it up. No, I think all those bold takes that he took with their direction absolutely work and fit into the particular Gotham environment that he wanted to execute. It's marvelous.
Yeah, it really was. And I mean that gets us down. That gets us at last to Zoe Kravitz, who, man, she is just remarkable as a vulnerable, still learning Selena Kyle. And I mean, obviously she comes from quite the Hollywood elite power couple there, Lenny Kravitz and Lisa Bonet.
Those two crazy kids.
But man, like, I think she's got a really, really big career ahead of her. I mean, that she was the star in that High Fidelity TV show.
She's about to bring up High Fidelity. That's
She's got that current show on called Kimmy that's getting a lot of great buzz. I mean,
is that pretty? Have you seen it?
I have not.
Ooh.
Oh, I didn't even know this, but she voiced Catwoman in the Lego Batman movie. That's fantastic. So, and I mean, she's just done all of these kind of smallish roles that are adding up to a good, solid resume. And I feel like, and she was Angel Salvatore in X-Men First Class. How weird is that?
Really?
Yeah. Totally just ran into that. But I think she's got a phenomenal career ahead of her because anytime she is on the screen, she freaking owns it.
Yep.
I gotta say that much. You know what? I love Anne Hathaway as an actress, but she did not have that impact with me when she was Catwoman. Michelle Pfeiffer sure did, and does. But like, there's something to the ability to transcend the previous actor or actress that you think of with the role and really make it your own. And Zoe Kravitz just did that.
No, absolutely. I mean,
she may have actually been my favorite part of that entire movie, to be perfectly honest with you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I tell you what,
in terms of like the actor and the acting side, I should say.
Sure. I would say, I'll give you that. I'll give you that. She was probably one of, if not the strongest, I think, portrayals.
Well, in order to be Catwoman, like Catwoman's tricky because she's got to be, you know, lethally badass and sexy, but not a sex pot, if that makes sense.
Right. No,
like, there has to be a cleverness and a vulnerability to her. And
I think
Kravitz just nailed it.
Well, I think in all of the best Catwomen, if you will, and we can even lump in Eartha Kitt, Julia Newmar.
Oh, we go on it because
I think the best Catwomen, if you will, Catwomen, women's,
women.
On that, they have to be comfortable being, once again, like we talked about Batman and Bruce Wayne. They have to be comfortable being Selina Kyle and Catwoman, and almost comfortable in their own skin, if you will, and kind of still have that being dominant, but at the same time kind of lean back a little bit. Not completely just kind of, oh no, but like, you know, and speak up, almost just, you know, not afraid to kind of take the reins, kind of whoop some ass, but at the same time go, you know what, I'm going to put on some pumps in an evening gown, head up to Waffle House and have a good time.
But, and I mean, I think where they really made it work for me was the way that they introduced her as somebody that's concerned for her friend. That immediately dials in a connection to humanity that anybody can relate to.
Sure.
Oh my gosh, my friend is missing.
You know?
Instead of meow, you know, right off the bat, like instead they made a choice to deliberately dial in on her humanity first.
Right.
And that was just kick-ass. I wish they had done something a little different with the costume other than a torn ski mask. But
think about doing that with
that gets back, right? I love it. That gets back though to the whole the characters are in an embryonic state.
Right.
So I can be down with that. Go ahead.
What and another aspect of what I loved about the character development of the movie was we didn't get Catwoman. We got Selina Kyle first. We didn't get the Riddler right up front. You know, he was kind of, we didn't know who was looking in the windows and stuff like that. We just didn't get like, oh, the Riddler's on a crime spree. Here comes Batman. You know, and we got a struggling Batman. You know, like who am I? Am I Vengeance? Am I Bruce Wayne? You know, and
they definitely hit the vengeance word over the head a little much throughout that movie.
At least he didn't have that grotesque Bale growl. You know, oh, I need gas for the Batmobile. You know, no cheese on my burger. Oh, I am the knight. You know, it's like, dude, you're gonna scratch your throat. You know, give him a fucking lozenge or something. Shit. But you know, I just think the character, you know, and I'm gonna go on a huge limb. All the Batman movies, Massive Phantasm, it doesn't matter. However you're rating Batman movies, because I know Massive Phantasm is
well, and that's good that you bring that up. But go ahead, because we're talking year 2 stuff.
I will go on a limb and say I think this is the best character development we've seen in a Batman movie.
I can't agree with you on that.
Ooh.
And it comes down to my inability to connect to him as Bruce Wayne.
Okay.
In Batman.
Sure. That's fair. I'll take that.
So I'm not outright saying that you're wrong, your opinion is stupid, about like just my perspective on it. But if we're talking about an MCU type approach over 3 films where we watch him grow and evolve as a character, I could have a really different opinion by the end of that trilogy.
Sure.
So, I mean, I'm down with that. That for now. I really am excited to see what they can do with this world. I would like to see a little bit more of an expanded role for Jeffrey Wright as Gordon, who I really liked.
Brilliant,
I
Gordon,
loved
right?
it. I wasn't sure, like I'm not familiar with him as an actor. Not really. Not like I probably should.
Same. I had to look him up.
Right.
I don't mean that in a bad way. I don't mean that like in a who is
Oh
that?
yeah, I mean, I just was struggling to think like, well, I'm sure I've seen him in something. I just don't know what. So, but I mean, he's okay. He's on Westworld, and he voiced the Watcher on What If, and Destiny on the Sandman podcast, and I mean, he's been in lots of things. Oh, he was in. Oh, that's his big claim to fame, Boardwalk Empire.
Oh, okay. God,
That was the big claim to fame. Okay. Yeah. And he's been in some other things, but that's the main one. So yeah, like I liked him, and I would like to see more of him in the next one, especially if we're going to keep this on a relative ground floor detective based level, because I just loved that they had like they Matt Reeves did not fuck around with origin stuff. It's like, hey kids, here's Gordon, here's Batman. They trust each other. Go.
Right.
And they've got a shorthand.
Right. And that's what works. And that's what, once again, I like I said before, I just the development, it was so nice to get a comic book movie where you didn't just have people and they were just running around and shit was already happening, and you're going,
Yeah.
Okay, well then halfway through the movie, now you want to give us an origin story. Like, dude, we're already an hour and a half into this.
And that's just it. Like, we know these characters, Mike, are so they're such strong archetypes, and they're so well sewn into public consciousness. We don't freaking need his origin again, right? We just don't. And I'm so glad that they chose to jump in at year 2 and take aspects of Long Halloween, which is sort of the de facto year 2, even though it's technically an Elseworlds. But in my heart, it'll be more year 2 than the actual year 2 story. Because God, who doesn't love Long Halloween? But that basic story there, like of the traditional mob, the Carmine Falcones of the world, falling by the wayside as freak villains, and the Penguins and Jokers and Two-Faces of the world rise up because they don't know how to adapt to this new world. I love that. That's an evergreen premise. It makes me extremely sad that they did away with John Turturro's Carmine Falcone, because he was great.
Yeah, I was hoping.
Man, they could have put any Italian American actor from like a mob movie in that role and just had generic mob boss guy, right? But instead, they just let John Turturro, who, frankly, over the course of 5 or 6 Transformers movies, I think we all forgot this, but they just let him act. And he did a wonderful job. He really owned every scene he was in. And I mean, when he stood toe to toe there with Zoe Kravitz, 2 actors that are just dominating any scene that they're in, and they're going out. I mean, that is great stuff.
Truly. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So, I mean, hats off to everybody involved. I get that the tone is not necessarily my thing. I think we could have done ground level detective Batman without necessarily going dark and gritty as we did. But if, to what you were saying, this is an evolutionary process over 2 more films-ish, cool. Let's see where it goes.
Yeah, and the thing is one thing that I hope they build on is not being afraid of, giving the Riddler his own movie and then cameoing, Batman, but keeping Pattinson, or say they introduce a Two-Face is the villain for movie 2.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they don't make a Batman 3, they make a Two-Face movie. They break Riddler out of jail, or Pattinson makes a Batman game, something like that. Something that Marvel does, where they'll do a Thor, and here's Iron Man as just a cameo.
Yeah, things of that nature.
And he dips in and he dips out.
Yeah,
put some teeth on it.
Well, in fairness, Warner Brothers did kind of try to do that with the original Suicide Squad movie when Batfleck showed up. Briefly, remember that? They did. Yeah. They tried, but my God, that movie's a dumpster fire.
And it's a bad script for a Joker.
My soapbox on the Jared Leto Joker is a whole nother episode.
That was low hanging fruit. I know how you feel about the Jared Leto Joker. I took a little poke on that one, right? I did that on purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole thing was like, oh God. But you know what though? You know what was really the best thing about the Jared Leto Suicide Squad thing was?
It also gave us Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn.
Well, that too. Even better, he looked great on a t-shirt at Hot Topic.
Hot Topic Joker, baby. And with that in mind, I don't think we have any worry whatsoever of Hot Topic Joker showing up in Matt Reeves' The Batman trilogy.
Damn it.
Yeah, I really am super interested to see where these movies go, because they are separate from the DCEU. They're their own thing. And I mean, I kind of have to say, like, just sitting here talking through my feelings on this movie, I guess I have more positive feels about it than I realized. So this was therapeutic. We talked through my feelings, and I came out feeling way better about life and about Batman and about the Batman. So yeah,
glad I could help.
I'm glad you could help. You're always a positive influence, Mike.
Oh,
oh my gosh. Well, Mike, that's our hour and change. I know, right? We just talked our way right through that silly thing. So guys, next week we'll be back for more. Hopefully there's no nuclear incidents in Ukraine between now and then. The world is full of a lot of crappy things, but it doesn't have to be. So get out there. Read something good, support your local comic book store, and above all, just be kind to each other. Until then, this is Mike. I'm Matt. We're the Comic Watchers, and this is our show. Thank you so very much, and we'll see you next time.